What I'd like to do this evening is I'd like for us all to enter into a space of pure rage. The way that I enter this space myself is I think back to the 1982, 1983 era. I think about Thatcher. I think about Reagan. I think about deregulation, financialization, securitization, commodification, the selling of our collective soul to a group of bankers, Wall Street and the City of London, who took what we hold dearest and wrapped it up into a security and sold it to each other for a fee, and sold it to each other for a fee, and sold it to each other for a fee. And they took those fees and they went down to the Westminster, or they went to Washington, and they bought all the politicians that they could buy, who in turn deregulated more and gave them more cash, more cash, more cash. Where did they get this cash? From their friends down at the central bank. Federal Reserve Bank, Bank of England, European Central Bank, they're all working together. What do? They print cash. They print lots of cash. There's no collateral for this cash. They just print lots of cash. They print all the cash and they've got orders to print cash. And who's giving them the orders? The bankers in Wall Street, the City of London, who continue to financialize, securitize, commodify. Take what we hold dearest and turn it into a tradable commodity and leave us with jack shit. Leave us with war, leave us with poverty, leave us hating each other in the street, leave us with violence, because there's no money anymore. Why? Because it's been channeled, it's been redirected, it's been sold off, it's been privatized, it's been liquidated, it's been sold. And what's left? Almost nothing. What's left? Almost nothing except anger. Anger and violence and war. Doesn't have to be that way. No! Do we have an alternative? Yes! What is that alternative? Well, first of all, throughout history, there's been a remedy for this type of corruption and this type of scandal. It's called many names, one of which is capital punishment. Capital punishment for crimes against capital. The French Revolution, they didn't mess around trying to reform the bankers who destroyed their country. They invented technology. It was called the guillotine. 48,000 tops were beheaded. Now that's a statement. That's the way you communicate. What happened? They laid the groundwork for revolution. Now in this country, unfortunately, you've got a prime minister who, when assaulted with an act of brazen financial terror, will wag his finger. Don't do that again. They think about, for example, Tony Blair. Tony Blair, former prime minister of this country, entertained in his office Prince Bandar, who had this enormous slush fund, 200 million pounds. Saudi Arabia, British aerospace, doing crooked deals, mongering war. It was revealed by the Financial Times that all this was taking place. And so he went into Tony Blair's office and he said, Tony Blair, if you don't call off this serious fraud office investigation into my slush fund, I can't guarantee there won't be another 7/7 style act of terror in London. This is fully documented by the Financial Times. And what did Tony Blair do? When he was threatened with a terrorist act in number 10 Downing Street. Fuck me doggy, woo woo woo, Tony Blair, fuck me, yes, I like it like that. That's your former prime minister. How about your current prime minister? David Cameron. Well, Royal Bank of Scotland, you now own, was caught bankrupting British companies, selling off the pieces to divisions within itself, and hiring collection agencies and mafia hitmen and lake breakers to go collect the cash. He's attacking you in the street. They're breaking your legs to pay off the RBS creditors. Where's David Cameron? Fuck me doggy, fuck me doggy. Of course, it wouldn't be so funny if it weren't for the fact that, well, these guys are pretty morally corrupt. We won't go there this evening. You seem like nice people. Here in London, there is an alternative. There is a voice of reason. There is a man riding out from the plains. Out from the horizon comes a man wearing a hat. A hero. He's been around for 30 years in politics. He knows everyone, done everything, been there. And now he's running for mayor. And, I think that over the next 10, 11 months, we're going to see him continue. Right now, in the polls, in the London LBC, I believe he's number one, leading in the polls. He's ahead of even Zach Goldsmith, who's got a really nice haircut. So we're going to spend the next few minutes chatting some more, maybe do some question and answer. So I bring to the stage the venerable, the honorable George Galloway.
Thank you very much, Max. It's very difficult to follow Max, who was not difficult to follow him. It's certainly easy to understand him, but it's difficult to speak after him because he made such a devastating case in such originality against the criminals who run our country and our world, who have spread terror, war, exploitation and grand larceny everywhere that they have gone. The system that they represent is bankrupt and broke. The decisions that they have made have set the world on fire. And the latest of the Bush fires that are Bush and Blair fires that are breaking out in 3 continents this very day and at the top of the news. London, which is the epicenter of international fraud and is a key capital in the political and economic crimes that Max was talking about so colorfully, is electing a mayor next May. For the last 8 years or 7 years, it will be 8 by the time he finishes, London has been run by the metropolitan elite for the metropolitan elite. Boris Johnson, an old Etonian, a Bullingdon boy, Eton and Oxford, a blonde buffoon, has run this city for people like him and not for people like you, not for the 99% of the people of London, but for the 1% that were already dripping in gold, much of it ill-gotten gains. And we hope to persuade enough people, and as Max said in the LBC poll this evening, I'm ahead, number 1, ahead of all the so-called mainstream parties. And I believe it's for this reason, that the people have had enough of what I call the 3 cheeks of the same arse and want to give it a good kicking. And that arse occupies a tiny, tiny spot on the actual political spectrum. They all stand for the same things, they employ the same methods, they use the same spin and the same narrative, and they serve the same masters. Now, only 38% of the people voted in the last mayoral election. Of course, that means that more than 60% did not vote. And those are the people that we are trying to reach. And you may indeed be among those. And our message is simple, that everything will change if Max and me are installed at City Hall. And I could go on at great length across all the areas of the mayor's £17 billion a year budget that will be done differently. But I give you just this taster of what Max and I will be saying next Wednesday in the Railway Tavern in the City of London itself, where up close and personal we'll be saying to the bankers who brought us to the brink of national destruction that if we win next May, the party is over. You will no longer be allowed to besmirch the name of London and to rob and cheat its people. And the man you'll have to answer to in the first instance is Max Keiser. You know, they used to say that someone or other was this or that czar, a drug czar, a crime czar. Well, I don't have a czar. I've got a Kaiser, and his name is Max. Let me tell you that the City of London currently has its own pet police force. It's called the City of London Police. No more. We are going to abolish the City of London Police and merge them into a London police force that treats everybody the same and investigates every crime the same, by the same yardstick, criteria, and colourblind at that. The City of London Police, no doubt, can catch a pickpocket or two in Liverpool Street Station, but they've been blind to that grand larceny of hundreds of billions of pounds stolen by criminals with white collars and white powder up their nose, no doubt. And we won't put up with it anymore. So there's many changes coming across housing, transport, taxis, banking, policing, culture, and many other things in this mayoral campaign that we will be laying out over the next 11 months. But for the city, I say this to anyone who's recording it. Your party will be over next May if me and Max are elected. Thanks very much for listening. Go ahead. Well, Max and I were in Hoxton Square the other night with some of the hottest technologists to be found on the earth. Max?
Yeah, the technology is driving employment down, driving wages down. People are rightfully concerned, especially 29 states of the 50 in America. The number one job is truck driving, and they're rolling out now trucks, autopilot trucks, self-driving trucks. So that's a huge wave of unemployment coming to the United States in the very near term. So there is a concept that has been discussed around the world and has been experimented with in different countries, and this is something called basic income. And this is that everybody in the community, in the country, gets automatic basic income. It's not welfare, it's just an automatic income. This income can be generated in a number of different ways. Clearly, if you've got an economy like you do in the UK, where the amount of financial derivatives produced on an annual basis is in excess of £2 trillion, certainly you can carve out a basic income for the, however many there are, 60 million Brits. So there is the economics work, the mathematics work. It's just a willingness to do battle with that entrenched kleptocracy that sits on the central banks and their banking relationships, who are not lending, who are not being part of the economy. We know for a fact that the Bank of England says that nobody wants to borrow money Nobody really cares about borrowing money or starting businesses. That's why we keep interest rates near zero. And yet, at this very same time, there are peer-to-peer lending sites where the average cost of borrowing is 5%. So either the market's lying or Mark Carney is lying. Clearly, Mark Carney, who has a vested interest in lying, is lying. There is a huge market for people to borrow money and to start businesses. It's just that the bankers are hoarding that cash. And that is beyond corruption. That's
Sabotage.
sabotage. Good word for it. So that would be my answer.
Any other questions? Shout out because it's not easy for us to see.
Yeah.
Yes, bro.
Why should we trust you? How are you uncorruptible? You're going to come into a lot of money.
No, we're not going to come into a lot of
Well, you're
money.
going to handle a lot of money.
Yeah, we're going to handle a lot of money. Well, you have to make
Why
your...
do you spend that money on like strippers and,
Well, I think we need to carve out a certain budget for strippers. Because strippers are workers and hard-working people. Strippers is a blue-collar job, actually. It's the one job available when you have a Westminster dominated by Tories who are, let's face it, mostly into young boys. The hard-working women out there who need to feed their children and put food on the table, let's subsidize strippers. I think it's an excellent idea. Let's subsidize everyone who actually works for a living, unlike those Tory Westminster scoundrels who do nothing but A, steal cash, B, commit acts of pedophilia, and C, do the exact same thing over and over again. Let's hear it for strippers. Yeah, right on for strippers.
We won't be employing any strippers. Neither of us is involved in any way with strippers. But I'd rather have a stripper than the horse that took us to war in Iraq and who destroyed our country in 2008 and who murdered 1 million people when they invaded and occupied Iraq, and who have set in chain the kind of events which we saw today.
How about this, Stuart? I have an idea. How big is the budget for London?
17 billion.
17 billion pounds. Let's put the entire budget on a blockchain. So it's completely transparent. You can go online and see where every penny is spent online on a blockchain, fully transparent. There you go. That's the answer.
Yeah, well done.
So we've
There'll be absolute transparency in our mayoralty. There will be town meetings every week, not once a year, like Johnson had at the O2 in a rigged event the other night. There will be a town meeting someplace in London every single Saturday. And every question will be answered. Every question. Everything will be online. Every decision that we make will be open and transparent. That's a promise. Anyone else? Yes, please.
Lots of children are getting sent out to Enfield, Dagenham, even shitter places than that. How you going to fix that?
Well, the mayor doesn't control the schools, the boroughs do.
How are you going to fix that then?
Sorry?
How are you going to fix that?
Well, you can't. The boroughs are elected themselves. The boroughs are elected themselves. You elect the borough of Hackney. And you've got a directly elected mayor there. And he's, in my opinion, a poor excuse for a directly elected mayor. But the people of Hackney elected him. They need to unelect him. Now, if we win the London mayoralty, I believe that we'll start to win directly elected mayoralties in Hackney and in Newham. But we don't control the schools. But I'll tell you one thing we are going to do. There was a decision made in the first week that the Tory government came in to scrap EMA, Education Maintenance Allowance, which means that poor kids can't stay on at school and therefore can't go on to university. And we're going to reverse that. We're going by hook or by crook to reinstate EMA, the Education Maintenance Allowance. Well, we'll follow the model that the London Borough of Tower Hamlets followed, which did continue to pay EMA. Others, well, you may say he's a corrupt mayor, but he did pay EMA. He did pay poor children to stay on at school, and he did many other things too. So we're going to collect the mayors and the council leaders of the London boroughs and say, with us, and with private finance and university finance. Because universities are sitting on big access funds, which are supposed to be about getting working class people into university. And the best way to get working class people into university is to pay the kids at school EMA, so that they can sit the A levels that are required in order to secure university entrance. So we've got big plans on EMA, and we'll be putting big pressure on the London boroughs to do something about schools in London, some of which are a very big success story, like the Tower Hamlets you're so ready to defame, who have resisted free schools, who have resisted academies, who have continued to pay EMA, and whose schools are in the top 15 out of 160 in the country. But there are other boroughs whose schools are a pretty poor failure. So it'll be a big priority of ours, even though the London Mayor doesn't control the schools. There will be no housing development permitted in London unless 50% of that development are affordable houses. And by affordable houses, I mean 50% of market rents, not 80%, which is Boris Johnson's policy. And only 10% of development is for affordable homes under Boris Johnson, and at that, it's 80% of affordable rents. We'll mobilise the tens of thousands of empty office space in London for conversion into flats. We will build houses where we can in collaboration with the London boroughs. The working class will stop moving out of London and start moving back into London. And we're going to compulsorily purchase any house that is vacant for more than 1 year in London. So all these foreign buyers who are buying London apartments as a kind of safety deposit box in order to store their cash and for no other reason. And the last thing they intend to do is live in the house that they've bought. There are hundreds of thousands of such properties in London. We will compulsorily purchase them, as we have the power to do if those apartments and houses lie empty for more than 1 year. So, we're going to make a major attack on homelessness, on overcrowding, and on the process by which working class Londoners are pushed further and further to the edge. One more, shall we take one more? Yes, madam. We have the power to do it. We have the power to compulsory purchase. Yeah. We don't have to ask anybody's permission. We have that power. Well, as you think 1 million people a day are coming into London, I think we've probably had enough from you. We can take one more. Okay, thanks very much for coming.